Good old 1987, one of the years of all time. Do you remember where you were when the first Starbucks outside of the United States opened in Vancouver? The wicked Margaret Thatcher was re-elected for a third term, or Kesha was born? Well, I was in the void. But something else happened that year. Megaman for the Nintendo Entertainment System was released by Capcom to pretty raving reviews. Its blend of action platforming and beautiful visuals were a marvel at the time, and it was the catalyst for a major video game franchise. For myself, I was always interested in retro video games because of a little video sharing platform that I like to call YouTube. I would watch countless Let's Plays of old games and really got into these legacy titles. Mega Man was one of those series I was always interested in. I liked the idea of picking a stage and playing a game of rock, paper, scissors to find which weapons were effective against each boss. So even though I was a little late to being born and the NES was far out of style by the time I was playing games, I still found value in these old things. Well, it's been a while since I last played any Mega Man games, and I felt like it was time to pick it up again. But no, I was not about to play it normally. You see, another thing about me is that I am a huge achievement hunter, and I like to try and experience everything that a game is packed with. So imagine my delight when I found out about a little website called RetroAchievements. By now, I've made a few videos on the website, but I'll still give you the rundown. RetroAchievements is an online platform that seamlessly links to your favorite retro emulators and breathes new life into old classics with, you guessed it, achievements. The achievements bring new challenges to games that you've played through countless times with a point system, leaderboards, forums, and a cool mastery game award that you can show off to your friends, if you have any. I think it's pretty obvious with my not so subtle segue earlier, but this time I'm going to be playing through the first Mega Man game for the NES. And this achievement set has a lot to offer. Its 50 achievements have a variety of challenges, 10 for beating all the game's bosses, 6 life-based achievements, 8 buster-only achievements, 10 perfect boss battle achievements, 1 for beating the game without using a continue, 11 no-death achievements including a full game deathless run, and a few other miscellaneous achievements that we'll get to. So this set is pretty tough. The way that I like to do this is I like to start off with a regular playthrough of the game to see what I would collect naturally, and then I go back to break things down into categories. By the way, if you have any suggestions on what game I should tackle next, leave a comment with what you'd like to see. And while you're down there, might as well leave this video a like, maybe press the subscribe button. I mean, it's there. Anyway, without further ado, let's kick this baby into high gear with Mega Man for the NES. I'm gonna be real with you here. It's been a bit since I've played this game, so I used this Reddit post that said I should do Gutsman first. Not that it matters, I guess, you could really start anywhere. I suppose it was a decent choice for a first stage because it's pretty simple. Starting out, there are only a couple of these hiding enemies which are easy to take out. After that, there's a moving platform section that could be tough if you aren't a veteran gamer like me. Oh, never mind. This is gonna be a long set, isn't it? So yeah, I got a game over on pretty much the first obstacle the game threw at me. And at this point, I was starting to regret my choice of playing the game at all. But I got used to how the game worked and got past the moving platforms and made it over to the area with the miners. I kinda just tanked my way through them. I got through the falling section and past the jumping enemies that Mega Man Wiki tells me are called Big Eyes. This level is super short, so after that, it was right over to the first boss, Gutsman. So the way that he works is that he jumps, and since he's large and dense, if you're on the ground as he lands, you get stunned, and he can kind of start chaining jumps and throw rocks at you. On my first try, I struggled pretty hard, but got used to it and used my Mega Buster to take him out on my second try. This got me a couple achievements. The first was for beating Gutsman's stage with only the Mega Buster, and then the second was just a stage completion achievement. By the way, when you hear this sound, take a look at the top left corner. You'll see what achievement I just got. Just a little tip. After Gutsman was Cutman, because rock beats scissors. I see that you're starting to understand the logic here. So Cutman's stage starts off with these helicopter dudes that I hate dealing with, before going into a bit of a climbing section. Something that I like about Mega Man is that it has a lot of verticality. While in bad games like Mario Bros, you mostly only go right, in Mega Man, a lot of the time you go up. And that's pretty freaking cool. The main enemy in this stage are these phallic-looking blasters that'll start shooting at you as you go higher, knocking you off of ladders. There are also these Pac-Man-looking dudes, hoppy guys, and Adhering Susie. Yeah, that's their name. Just don't question it. Well, Susie here likes to go back and forth or up and down in set patterns, so they aren't too hard to take out. Once we make it to the top, we start going right. And at this point, I was very low on health, so I was happy to see a big energy pellet that healed me up a bit. After going back down, there was another pogo stick man that ended up killing me, but I got my revenge on the next time around and took on Cutman. Cutman is weak to the super arm, so I equipped that weapon, which I got for beating Gutsman, and used it to pick up some rocks and chuck it at his face. 2 hits and he's done. Naturally, electricity's biggest natural predator is scissors, so it's on to Electman next. Also, are you noticing this awesome name pattern? We have, let's see, Gutsman, Cutman, Electman, Fireman, Bombman, and Iceman. How unique and cool. I didn't know it yet, but spoiler alert, Electman's stage is the worst thing known to man and my least favorite stage of the game. At the start, there are these spiny guys that can't be defeated, but when hit are stunned for a short time. This allows you to safely go on the platform they're on so you can keep jumping onto the next. They're actually pretty quick, and the platforming here isn't for the weak-minded. It's easy to bump your head. And yes, I've been here the whole time. I genuinely look like an idiot playing through this part here, and it's actually kind of embarrassing. Eventually, I got to the next room, which had more spiny guys, but they were easier to deal with. I went back down to grab the energy container and move through this electricity platform part. The next enemy to fight were these watchers. They rise up from the top and bottom of the screen and harass you to the point of falling back down. But if you're quick like me, you can defeat them before they even get to shoot. Once we reach the top of the ladder, we're met with one of Megaman's staple obstacles, these temporary platforms. I do not like them and they make me frustrated sometimes. For this one, you take the right path and then go across this bridge made from the temp platforms. We have to deal with more watchers as we climb up until we reach this part here, which has the magnet beam for us. Using the super arm, we can grab it no problem and continue on up. Like I said before, this will become my least favorite stage, and I think that's because of how long it is. It honestly takes forever, so messing up and dying is a slog, which I did on my final ascent to the top. And guess what? That was a game over, so I needed to start from the beginning of the stage. Tragic, one might say. Eventually though, I reached the end of the stage, went into the boss corridor, and had to climb even further up and fight Electman, who by the way, is annoying to fight. He attacks super fast and does a lot of damage, so I was dead within a second of the battle starting. On my next try though, I proactively equipped Cut and just spammed it at him until he died. Not too bad. Iceman is weak to the Thunder Beam, so he's up next. As you might expect, this stage has a slippery floor and a winter theme. We have some flying penguins and some Susies to get past before we need to tackle another couple of temporary platform sections, which are actually a lot tougher than the one in Electman's stage. They actually have you really consider where to jump next and provide a nice challenge. I got a bit confused at the second one and struggled to get through, so I used the magnet beam to get through there. I decided to try and attempt the sky area the normal way. I died and then opted to use the magnet beam the next time around. Right after that, I picked up the extra life in the stage, dropped down, went past the big eye, and went to fight Iceman. There isn't anything to note here. Spamming the Thunder Beam helped me take him out in no time. This was a really quick stage. In a surprising turn of events, the next stage we need to take on actually makes sense in this big game of rock, paper, scissors. Ice beats fire. Man, yeah, that really wasn't funny at all. This stage is pretty cool. It starts off with a screw that leads over to a lava platforming area that has these fire spouts and fire falling from the sky. If you're not careful, it can be super easy to die here. But since I'm a pro, I got right past it into the next section, which has a lot more fire-related obstacles in the way that I either dodged or tanked my way through. As we go down though, there is this hard area that has a few fire bar jumps, which I lost a life to. I made it through, started climbing back up where I needed to pretty much get hit guaranteed, and it was off to the next area. It had some spinies, bullet men that blow up when you shoot them, and some more fire to deal with. Eventually, I got to Fireman, which ended up being a battle of spamming, where I came out the victor. The last of the robot masters was Bombman, whose stage is honestly one of the easier ones. At the start, you just need to avoid these robots that break into a couple of tiny bombs, then get past some screws, fight a few Sniper Joes, get past a bunch of these big bullet guys, and that's kind of it. There's even a 1-up that I grabbed too. And Bombman himself is pretty easy. Once you drop into his lair, spam him with fire, and you're done. Here I actually managed to get an achievement for beating the stage deathless, and also for beating the level for the first time. With all of the robot masters down, we can begin to take on Dr. Wily, who has 4 stages for us to complete. The first of which starts off with 3 big eyes for us to sneak past. Thankfully, that wasn't too bad, then I used the super arm to get through this rubble and hop past these fire bars. After climbing up, I needed to use the super arm again, then did some tight platforming with bullets charging at me. After this moving platform section, I needed proceeded to use the magnet beam to make platforms for me to climb this ladder, and it was on to the boss fight for this stage, the Yellow Devil. Something I haven't had to do yet is use the pause glitch in this game, so I'm going to use and explain that now. When using a weapon, if you shoot then to rapidly pause and unpause, you can hit the enemy you're fighting multiple times. I know it's cheap, but we're going to have to come back and do this damage list later, and that doesn't allow for the pausing glitch, so hop off me. Wily's second stage is a sky platforming challenge stage that honestly is very tough. I know it already looks like it is, but down the line this one is going to give me even more trouble. Eventually though, I got past the initial platforming section and had to rematch Cutman. This time though, there wasn't any rubble for me to fight with, so I had to just use the Mega Buster. The next platforming section was a bit easier, and then I rematched Electman. He killed me on my first and second time around, but on my third attempt, I got my sweet revenge on him and pushed forward. After a few sections with some Susies in this one-up, it was time to take on this level's boss, the Copy Robot, which is just a complete copy of you. Whichever weapon you decide to use, it'll use the same one. I decided to use the old reliable and spammed it to death. The next stage isn't really that much of a level. It's more of like an extra long boss tunnel where you kind of just run for a while. But as I was doing this, I got the achievement for grabbing 150 score balls, so that's cool. The boss here is super simple. I guess it's called CWU01P. That's a weird name. This one you can use the Mega Buster for the first few hits, then use the rubble to take the last few phases out pretty much instantly. The final stage of Wily and the game as a whole is this one here. It starts off with a climb up this ladder and run through this screw section. Once you're done with that, we have an annoying moving platform section to go through, which did get me 2 achievements. One for this extra life and one for grabbing this pinwheel, which I guess is supposed to heal you and give you full energy on all of your weapons. But good thing it does all that, because up next we needed to fight 4 robot masters in a row. First a rematch with Bomb Man, then Fireman, Iceman, and lastly Gutsman. By the way, this stage is no doubt the hardest, as I died countless times while doing the platforming and rematching the robot masters. But when you get through, no, you're not done yet. It's time to finally face the villain of this whole adventure, Dr. Wily, who comes in his UFO for some reason, which I found was weak to fire. So I used that to take out his first phase, then I used the pause glitch to take out the second phase. And with that, I was done with the initial playthrough for Mega Man 1 with a nice 19 out of 50 achievements. It's not quite a cool round number, but not too shabby. But as we know, we're not even close to done yet, and we have a few more categories of achievements to take on. And the first set I'm going to talk about is the perfect boss fights achievement, as I think that being able to beat every boss without being hit will make the rest of the categories way easier. And full disclosure, I'm going to be talking about some of these out of order from how I got them chronologically, because it will make the video flow better. As I did with the first playthrough, I started with Gutsman. On my way over to the boss, I managed to grab this extra life here. The secret to this battle is getting used to the jump timing so that you don't get stunned. I like to really pay attention and jump about 1 to 5 frames before he hits the ground, and usually that does the trick. What sucks about this set of achievements is that you only have 3 tries before you have to replay the whole level again in order to get a few more fighting attempts in. It's annoying, as we're going to see pretty soon, but I will say it did make me far more consistent at beating these levels. But by sticking to the top part of these rocks, I was able to take Gutsman out. Next, I went to Cutman, which ended up being one of the more easier levels to do in this. Since it only takes 2 hits for him, all I needed to do was dodge his first couple of attacks, then reciprocate for an easy achievement. Now, for my least favorite stage in the game, Electman. This achievement, as well as every other Electman related achievement I'm going to do in the future, completely and utterly broke me. Going through the stage itself wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't so god dang long. And then Electman's moves are incredibly sporadic, making it really hard to predict when he's going to shoot. At least at this point in my playthrough, I didn't know how to properly take him out, so this one took me so long. Because of how quick the fights could be, it felt like I was spending a majority of my playing time just getting back to Electman, and when I would, it was just horrible. After around 45 minutes of just playing this stage, I was able to get a good run on him and take him out. That looked easy, but I promise you it wasn't. But I also got the achievement for beating this level without a death. That is after a game over. Iceman came up next, and this one only took me 1 attempt. He's super weak to electricity, only taking 3 hits. And the slowdown from all of the sprites on stage at once makes it even easier to dodge his ice. And this was also achievement number 25, so we are exactly halfway through this set. Fireman, on the the other hand, this one should have been hard. But thanks to some people over in the comments of this achievement set, I found out a really easy way to fight Fireman. What you do is at the start, wait for him to attack, then run around. After he turns around at the wall, you can hop over him and get a hit in on the back. Fireman doesn't do much in return, so you just continue this pattern until, voila, it's over. The last of the main robot masters is Bomb Man, and he's an easy fight. The only way he really can hit you is by throwing bombs, but if you're moving while he throws, he misses, and then tries to jump over you. It's kind of similar to the Fireman fight. Once again, an easy achievement. As you might imagine, the Wily stages also have some damageless boss fights, and unfortunately for me, we can't use the pause glitch to beat the Yellow Devil this time around, so I'm gonna have to lock in. For this fight, it's a matter of memorizing the attack pattern when each section moves to the other side of the screen, so it was a lot of trial and error. This was the cause for most of my failed attempts, especially towards the end. Every time I got hit though, I took the time to practice the pattern and tried to survive as long as possible until I felt comfortable enough to keep trying. The other thing that became a problem was the bullet he shoots from his eye once he reforms. At first I would get hit by it a lot, but then I realized as long as I kept running to the opposite side of the screen, I wouldn't get hit. After a ton of fights and many close attempts, I finally got through and beat the Yellow Devil damageless. Fighting the copy robot was sort of a similar story to Fireman, where I took some advice from the Retro Achievements comments to get through this one. What I learned was that copy robot can only attack at 3 places in the arena: here in the back, here in the middle, and right up front. What you should do is be patient and wait for him to go towards the back of the arena before you start to attack. And this is because every time you shoot, copy robot will jump. And if you attack when he's too close, he'll just jump right into you. This one was another one that ended up being a lot of trial and error, but really, this time around I got a lot more used to the pattern pretty fast. I will say though, understanding this boss will come in really useful down the line. CWU01P ended up being one of the easiest fights. I figured out that camping in this bottom left corner for the first 3 hits, and moving to use the super arm for the rest was the best way to do it. This one took no time. The no damage fight with Wily though, this one ended up being a huge undertaking, because going into it, I had no idea how to properly fight him. My first time around, I just used the pause glitch and called it a day, but now I really needed to understand this fight's mechanics. Not only that though, I still needed to fight the 4 robot masters that are in this stage. Let me just tell you, these ones are on crack. It was another case where I either lost a lot of lives prior to the boss fight, so I only had an attempt or 2 before game over, or I would simply game over before getting to Wily. So this was another stage where I wanted to learn how to effectively fight him. I found that using fire was the best way to get through phase 1, and I could get to phase 2 pretty efficiently. Another thing that I learned was that the orb that Wily shoots in phase 2 is easily manipulated. If you run far out in front of the ship, get in a hit, then run right back to the undercarriage of the ship, you will run right underneath the orb almost 100% of the time. So that made the process way easier. Still though, I needed to be efficient and my timing needed to be very clean in order to get through this fight without getting hit. Also, in phase 2, using the electric beam was the way to go, since you can get 2 hits in instead of 1. Eventually, after a lot of playing, I was able to defeat Wily without taking damage, and this marked the last of my no-hit boss achievements. Now onto our next set of achievements, which I decided would be the no-death runs of each individual stage. And since at this point I know a lot of the inner workings of these levels, it shouldn't be too hard at all. An additional thing I should mention about this category of achievements is that you aren't allowed to use the pause glitch or the magnet beam in all the stages, except for Wily 1 where the magnet beam is required. Just through playing, we already unlocked the achievements for Bomb Man and Electman, so I replayed those stages and went right on to Gutsman. There isn't really anything to note here. Gutsman is a very easy stage, and it's the same for Cutman, but Iceman on the other hand was hard. Like I said, the magnet beam is a no-no for this achievement, so you need to be able to get through this long moving platform portion without the help of that item. And let me just say, this segment is super RNG heavy. For most of these attempts, what would happen is that these platforms wouldn't line up for a long period of time, and you end up getting hit by a pellet and dying, making me have to restart the whole stage. Other times, I straight up fell through the platforms or was hit by a pellet that wasn't even near me. So this part of the stage took an incredibly long time to get through even once. But once I did though, I decided I never wanted to play this stage again without the magnet beam. So I made a calculated risk. Here was the plan. The next thing I was going to tackle after this set was the Mega Buster only achievements, and those once again do not allow for the magnet beam. So I decided it would be best for me to try and tackle that right now, so I didn't have to deal with the hell that I just went through a second time. But here's the problem. If I die here, I have to start over again. So it's high risk, high reward. Thankfully, I had full health and some decent experience with this boss, so I knew it shouldn't be too hard. The battle did get dicey, but I closed it out for both of those achievements. Next, I went on to Fireman, and at this point, I'm a pro at the game, so I got it on my first try. Things got pretty bad, but I got the achievement. The last few no-death achievements I had were the 4 Wily stages. These stages were pretty challenging to say the least. As we know, right off the bat, we got some big eyes, which when hit, take a large portion of your health. And in a no-death challenge, health is an important commodity. So if I got hit here twice, I would just restart the challenge. Sometimes I would die in stupid ways like to these spikes, but once I got to the boss, it was only a couple of tries before I got through. While Wily 1 wasn't all too bad, Wily 2 and the copy robot made me want to rip my hair out and give up. There are a lot of places where you can take some unwanted chip damage, like at the start, this section, or during any fights with the robot masters. Those make it so that once you get to the fight at the end, usually you're already low on health. And as we know, copy robot can be pretty sporadic and hard to deal with. I died here a couple of times, but most of my deaths actually came from earlier on in the stage. Thankfully, before the fight, you actually have some opportunity to get some more health with all of the enemies that lead up to the end. So that's something that helps a bit. After countless tries at this stage, I barely scraped through with a no-death run. That was very close. As you might imagine, Wily 3 is a walk in a park since there's like nothing really to die to here, and the boss is a piece of cake. So I got that one on like try 2 or something. But Wily 4 on the other hand, this one took up most of my time in these 4 stages. Probably more time than it took to beat the last 3 stages combined. You fight 4 robot masters in a row and then go straight into the Wily fight. So this was a huge task to get through. It was a matter of perfecting the robot master fights just so I had enough health to handle myself when I got to Wily in case of emergency. We've already beat Wily damageless, so I just used the strat from then to get this one done easy peasy. Now that I'm done with all that, we only have 10 more achievements to do in this set. And let's be real, this video is starting to get pretty long, so let's speedrun the last few here. Thankfully, the next 6 of these achievements can be done in one quickish playthrough. There's a reason I say quickish and it still haunts me to this day, but I'm going to talk about that later. These achievements are the rest of the Buster only achievements. I still have to go Buster only through Cutman, Electman, Fireman, Bombman, and Copy Robot. Then if I beat the whole game Buster only at once, I get an achievement for the full game. Cutman, as we've seen, is a pretty easy fight. The only challenge with these Buster only achievements is getting used to dodging for long periods of time. But of course, Electman. This one really made me want to end it all, and I'm not joking. This is the only one I'm going to harp on because really, this was one of the most frustrating achievements in this set. As we know, I already don't like this stage. The stage is long and Electman does a lot of damage. By the time you make it to the fight, you're likely already low on health, which pretty much throws away at least 1 life. Then you need to worry about dodging his electric beams long term, which is really hard to do because he's very unpredictable. From starting the stage to ending it, it took me 35 minutes, which doesn't sound long, but it was a complete slog this late into the set. Now this is where I made my mistake, the one that still haunts me. After beating Cutman, I sort of forgot I was supposed to beat the whole game Buster only. So I went to go fight Iceman. I thought I was free to use the Thunder Beam on him. Nope. The worst part is, I didn't realize my mistake yet, so I went on to beat Fireman, and then Bombman. And I made most of my way through Wily 1 before realizing my mistake. So I played for like 52 minutes for nothing, and I had to replay the entire game over again. Surprisingly though, this time it only took me 25 more minutes to get back there, which is still an unfortunate time loss, but not the worst thing ever. A lot of time was spent in Wily 1, mostly due to the fact that Yellow Devil is just a marathon test. You need to get perfect at dodging his attacks and then pray to God that your Buster can hit his eye. Copy Robot was kind of the same deal. The stage itself is hard, and then the boss is even harder. I got used to the jumping pattern he has after a while, and eventually got lucky enough that I was able to spam him until I won. As expected, Wily 3 was a breeze, and then it was on to the last Buster only stage. We've talked about this before, and you can imagine it wasn't easy at all to do this stage Buster only. But I did end up learning a really helpful pattern to take out Fireman since he was giving me the most trouble. If you time your attacks and jumps perfectly, he gets stun locked and it's pretty easy to beat him. If I'm being honest, all of my failed runs were due to the robot masters. Getting through them was a huge challenge, and surprisingly, the first time that I got to Wily was the attempt I beat the stage. Since I knew his pattern already, it was easy to kind of just win. For beating this stage Buster only, I got the Buster only achievement. Now, with only 4 achievements left, I was ready to finish this game off. First, I wanted to get the achievement for having 9 total lives at once. This one was pretty easy. There's a glitch in Bombman stage where you can respawn the extra life there, which made it super easy to get this one. Next, I had the achievement for getting a score of 1 million. And I need to come clean about something. I kind of cheated here, but hear me out. According to the comments on the achievement set, the best way to do this was to go to the Iceman stage and farm the penguins at the start. But this takes a really long time, so they suggested you use rapid fire and speed up to get this achievement. So that's what I did. Listen, if you think it's cheating, I'll do it again live on my Twitch stream, so let me know. The last two achievements in this entire set are pretty similar. Beating the game with no continues and beating the game with no deaths. So I wanted to go for both of these simultaneously to save a little bit of time. And to be fair, this set is all about replaying the stages you've already done. At this point, I've become familiar with the ins and outs of each and every stage. I did end up dying in my first try of this and decided to continue on. And to no surprise, I got the achievement for no continues pretty easily. But even though I know the ins and outs of these stages, the no death achievement was still hell to get through. And I don't think that's going to be a surprise to you. And guess what? My first run died to Electman. My second and third run died in Wily 1. My fourth run died immediately in Wily 2. Wily 1 got me again in run 5. Run 6 I actually lost to Iceman when I fat fingered the speed up button. So I guess that's karma. But run 7 is the one that made it all the way. Through all the Robot Masters, through Wily 1, 2, and 3, and finally finishing off with a really good fight in Wily 4. In all, that achievement took me 2 hours and 40 minutes. So not the worst thing in the world. With that, I've officially mastered Mega Man 1 for the NES. I had a super fun time going through this one. And if you're a fan of Mega Man yourself, I'd give it a shot. It's a great mix of achievements that are both challenging and rewarding. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. If you're feeling super generous, share it with a friend that's also into retro games. And if you want, like I said, drop a comment with what you'd like to see me play next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.